Here is an image that I typically would encounter, and the sun is behind and the face is very dark. Now, you can use fill flash, but my personal opinion is that fill flash would somewhat ruin the image. It would wash out the face, make it too almost white, and give it that fake look. Whereas if we have a camera with good dynamic range, we can in post bring the light back up on the face, but maintain all the integrity of the background and really keep the image looking great. So to try to make this as quick as possible, what I typically do is first white balance. Find someplace that's neutral and give it a click, and there we go. Now, this may be too warm for some, but for me, I love it. This is how the scene looked at the end of the day, and it was nice and warm and golden hour. The next thing I'll do is go to my brush here, this retouching brush, and the exposure I'll leave around 1, so just enough to paint over the image and bring the exposure up without going too bright. And then I'll also bring the clarity up a little bit, maybe around 8, just to preserve some of the detail as I bring the exposure up. And you don't want to do too much, you just want to sort of make it look natural. All right. So that's all you got to do to make it look a little bit more natural. Now, if you use the flash, you would get a lot more light on the shoulder, and you'd get more light here. You'd get rid of all these shadows, and to me, that wouldn't make it look really nice. The other thing I also do is, since I like to do more cinematic looks, is I'll make it more of a 16:9 ratio, and I can use the 16:9 aspect tab up here. I sort of want to make it not quite so wide, but just enough where you get a little bit more negative space and draw the eye in more. At this point in time, I want to fix the skin. So I'll bring up my skin action that I created, and I'll put a link to that here in the video. And what you want to do is you want to paint over the skin with the mask that I created. You can soften it up, and that goes back into Lightroom. Okay, so here we are back in Lightroom, and I'm very pleased with how it looks so far. I get the golden color around, I get the face that's more natural looking. And now last thing I'll do is I'll bring it into Alien Skin Exposure 7. This is a phenomenal program. I'll put a link to that in the description. And this is great because I love a cinematic look. Okay, so now we're in Alien Skin Exposure 7. And I love this program. This program has cinematic looks, it has movie looks, it has actual film looks. What I typically will do is bring it into here as my last sort of retouch before I'm done with the image. There's a few favorites I have, and I made a few presets myself, but in general, I'm just going to, for this tutorial, pick one, and one of my favorites would be probably Wizard of Oz. And that gives it that brownish sort of dark and golden look to it. You can bring the intensity down to almost nothing. Or you can bring it up just a little bit to where you want, and I'll usually bring the overall intensity around 75%. And one of the real cool things about this program is if you want to, I shoot into the sun a lot, but sometimes you can lose, and you can add a light effect. Now, it's not a good substitute for real light, but let's say you wanted to just give a little extra. That's way too fake. Let's say you want to give a little extra punch. You know that there's sun here. You know that there's some gold around the edges. You can bring the opacity of the sun just a little bit more. And if you notice, before and after. Before and after. So I'm quite pleased with that. I'll bring it back into Lightroom. And from this point, the image is essentially done. I may just fine tune it a little bit. And by fine tuning it, what I'll typically do is first look at the face. That might need a little bit of exposure back. And I can retouch it more if I want to, but that's perfect in my opinion. And then we'll maybe bring the blacks down a little bit, get a little extra contrast. Maybe overall bring the image up just a smidge. And you can, at this point, maybe sharpen more if you wanted to. I don't think it needs it. Maybe add a little noise reduction just for good measure to clean up a little bit around. Yeah, that softened it nicely. And then that's done. Maybe a little small vignette if you wanted to bring the eye towards the actual subject. But overall, I think that's how I would like it. Okay, so I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. I will provide the links to Exposure 7 and my own website in the description below. I hope you enjoy this, and please subscribe and let me know if there's anything else that you want me to try to do a tutorial on. Thanks.